Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on the COVID. It's a COVID update. Today we're going to cover so many things about the COVID virus, and it's already been 1 month of lockdown in Philippines and throughout northern Luzon. And today we're very, very honored and happy to have Dr. Jansen with us. Dr. Jansen is the head of 4-Leaf. Dr. Jansen is also a lifestyle. Is also a certified lifestyle doctor as well. So he's an MD and he has a specialty in lifestyle medicine. So that I think, guys, is going to be very exciting and very interesting because lifestyle medicine is what you can practice at home during lockdown, and it's whatever Dr. Jansen is going to share is going to help you. So we're going to start, and feel free to comment and share. All right. So today we're going to cover a wide spectrum. We're going to move from a bit of definitions. Dr. Jansen is going to give us a more technical overview, and then we'll move into more applications. But at any time, I encourage you to type in your questions, okay? And we'll try our best to answer you. And if we can't, we'll follow up. So without further ado, I want to say hi to Dr. Jansen. Hi, Doc. Yeah, hi, it's been 1 month. 1 month of lockdown, right? Wow, yeah. Amazing. Life has really changed. Yes. And throughout Asia, the statistics, and now globally, I mean, amazing that US has like hundreds of thousands of COVID patients.
US is really,
it's amazing.
It's really unbelievable, yeah.
Unbelievable. So Philippines is doing well.
Relatively.
In comparison to that, right?
Yes.
Yes, and there's been a lockdown, so we are all a bit agitated at home after one month.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me, my wife, and the 2 dogs for the last 1 month. Okay, yeah, and same. I'm a Filipino. I'm Singaporean living here in Philippines. Singapore just started its 1 month lockdown last week. So I heard that. Jokes aside, I heard in China divorce rates went up because of the lockdown. Because husband and wives were stuck together for a long period of time. And there's a viral joke going around that definitely COVID was invented by women because now the husbands are at home, all right? The sons are so it's the women who get all their wishes. All right. Okay, back to the topic. So, Doc, you're going to share with us about what COVID is. Yes. Share with us what Dr. Jansen is going to help illuminate about policy as well. What for the Philippines government, what does it mean, all the policies that they've enacted. So I'll hand the time to you, Dr. Jansen.
Okay.
All right.
So first, let's discuss what is COVID-19. So COVID-19 is a coronavirus disease caused by the novel coronavirus of 2019, or they named it later as SARS-CoV-2. So it's an RNA virus that it produces acute respiratory illness via droplet transmission. So when you say droplets, these are tiny or microscopic water droplets. No? So SARS-CoV-2 reside in those droplets, and it can be transmitted when you speak, when you sneeze, when you cough. Okay. So the incubation period of COVID-19 is up to 14 days.
Okay.
So once you manifest symptoms, some of the more common symptoms will be an acute respiratory illness. So some of the symptoms are cough, colds, sore throat, fever, generalized body malaise, or fatigue. Those are some of the more common symptoms.
How should we look at COVID? Should we be afraid, or should we just take it seriously because it does affect the elderly, especially? So what's your view as a doctor on how we should do this?
COVID-19, what's scary about COVID-19 is that it spreads really easy. Okay. It spreads easily. And but once you get it, most of the time you will have a mild symptom. Okay. And most of the time, you will recover from it.
All right.
But there are some demographics. Yeah, there are some groups that needs to be more careful, or more careful because they are more at risk into developing a more serious condition
All
and
right.
they are more prone to die.
Okay.
Okay, so I will be discussing those groups as
All
well
right.
later on,
I
and
see you
how
have the
we can.
numbers up, so we can take a look at.
Yeah, are you seeing the
Yes, we
numbers?
see the numbers.
Okay, so I'll be discussing worldometers. I'll be getting the data from worldometers because this has the integrated data around the world. So right now, all around the world, we just passed the 2 million mark.
All right.
Okay, so, and as you can see, the number of deaths is 134,000.
Mm.
Those who recovered are 500,000. So once you get COVID, on the world average, most likely you will be able to recover.
Mm.
So you will be able to live. Okay, so let's take a look then where we are right now as a global community.
Mm.
So take a look at this graph, the total number of cases.
Wow.
As you can see, we're still on the uptrend
Mm.
globally. We're still on the uptrend. So we do not know when this will flatten out,
Okay.
and we do not know if this will become more steep.
Mm.
So
It could get worse.
yeah, it can get worse and it can improve.
Mm.
But we are still on the uptrend, meaning there are still, the number of cases are still increasing. Okay?
All right.
So, having said that, let's take a look at the active cases and the closed cases. Okay, so once you get COVID,
Mm.
you will be classified under the active cases.
Okay.
Okay? If you are an active case, if you're currently infected, then there are two conditions that will happen to you. It's either you will have a mild condition or you will be serious or in a critical condition.
All right.
If you get infected, most of the time patients are in a mild condition,
Yeah, I
which
can
is
see that.
this is a good
96%.
news. 96% of the time that you will be in a mild condition. But how about the 4%? 4% of the time it will be your condition will be serious. Okay? Now, if you have if you're currently infected, what will happen afterwards? It's either you will recover or you will die.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at the closed cases. So these are the cases which had an outcome. So majority, 79%, actually recovered versus the 21% who died. Okay, so there's a good chance that if you get infected with a mild condition, you will recover as well. But if you will, at the same time, if you are in if you are in a serious or critical condition, there's
You
also
still have an 80% chance of recovery.
the
If
chance is not 80%,
Okay.
but there is still that chance that you will improve.
All right. All right. Okay.
It's not a death sentence.
It's
But
not a death.
yeah, it's not a death sentence. However, the healthcare, the quality of the healthcare should be really good for you to be able to survive. And there should be adequate equipment or an adequate facility.
All right.
Okay? So this is the world average. Now let's take a look at specific countries. Let's first take a look at the US because the US has the most number of cases right now. So let us scroll down. So here in the US now has 644,000 cases. Okay? So here in the US, let's take a look at the graph. Here it is. Okay, here is the graph in the US. As you can see, it is still on the uptrend. However, here on top, it seems to be flattening out, but we don't know that yet. It just seems like it is. But as long as this graph is still on an uptrend, then we won't be able to tell if the US is winning or not.
All right.
Okay, so let's take a look at South Korea.
That's a success case, right?
Yeah, South Korea is a success case. So how do you know that you as a country is already winning the battle?
Okay.
Your graph of the total cases should look like
there it is.
This one.
Yeah.
South Korea. Okay, so South Korea has 10,600 cases, no?
Okay.
Total cases. Okay. So South Korea. So your graph should look like this. So during the end of February, the cases in South Korea really shot up.
Yeah, very
Okay,
rapidly.
yeah, very rapidly, and then it began to slowly had the slope of the graph slowly tend to be more horizontal. And then during mid-March to early April, it started to flatten out. So this is the graph that we are looking for.
And South Korea actually has massive testing.
Yes.
Which makes that data more relevant, right? Because if you don't test, you think that your graph is flattening, but
yeah,
it could
you think your graph, it's not. Mass testing should really be done.
So South Korean data is something that tells us that this can be won. All right.
Yeah. Yes. I'll let you look another success story. Take a look at the graph of Taiwan.
Wow.
Now
they were one of the first countries. They only have 390. Wow, and they do lots of testing too. They do lots of testing too.
Taiwan's graph is the ideal graph that we want to see. Yes, as you can see, the cases in Taiwan shot up mid-March to end, and then right now, first week of April, their curve is flattening.
Wow.
This means that they're winning the case, but they shouldn't be complacent about it.
Yeah,
because because a second wave can occur. So in the Philippines, right now we are in as of yesterday, it's 5,453. And then number of deaths is 349, recovered is 353. So yesterday, the number of recovered just surpassed the total number of deaths. Okay, so right now here in the Philippines, this is our graph.
All right.
So as you can see, it's still on the uptrend. So there are still cases. So we are still not winning this fight.
So does this mean that we will continue to see restricted movement in some form of another come April 30th?
They should. The government should implement more stringent measures, actually.
That's possible, what we see on the graph.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, the enhanced community quarantine was implemented around March 16 or 17.
12, I think 12.
March 12? March 12. Yeah. So around this point in time, so once they implemented it, we actually should be seeing flattening by now.
But it seems
as you can see,
have any impact.
Shut up. Yeah, it seemed to have to shut up. Number one reason is because of mass testing. This was the time when we already started testing a lot of people. And of course, if you test a lot of people, your number of cases will actually go up. Yes, but we have to do the mass testing as much as possible, because this is only the situation where we can see the true numbers of those who are positive. Actually, that's approximate. That is not the true number, but approximate number of the total number of confirmed cases. So mass testing is really key.
Ever since we started doing mass testing here in Philippines, the graph is still going upwards.
Yes.
So we are still not in the clear, right?
Yeah, not in the clear yet. And then, so that's the situation here in the Philippines. So next I will...
So our take home from this part of understanding is now all the audience out there, if you have questions, please ask them how Taiwan and South Korea has managed to flatten. We've seen how US, who is now the leading number of deaths and infected. Yeah, and then we saw Philippines, and unfortunately our curve looks a lot more like the US than the South Korean, right? So I guess all the listeners out there and those who are watching, I guess we have to be prepared for more restricted movement come April 30th, right? I think the economy needs to open up somehow on some parts, but the data looks like it will not be a total freeing up, right? You still got a long way to go. All right.
Yes. Okay. So next, let's take a look at
The at-risk group by looking at
the age group. Who is more at risk for
yes.
this? No. So as you can see here, this is data from the U.S. states. No.
Mm.
These are the data provided by the New York City Health as of April 14. So let's take a look at the number of deaths. So as you can see here, those who are aged 45 to 64 and above actually are actually more at risk of dying from COVID-19.
Wow, I just managed to squeeze into the 45-year-old mark. So I'm the at-risk group.
Take note of these deaths. Those who have an underlying condition are
very
really
key.
a lot. Yeah.
All right.
Those who has an underlying condition. What I mean by underlying conditions are pre-existing illnesses or comorbidities. So comorbidities are hypertension, diabetes, cancer, lung disease, heart disease, or whatever disease you have. Okay.
All right.
So let's take a look at what are the pre-existing illnesses that puts you more at risk of dying from COVID-19. So let's take a look at the this one is
wow.
Yeah, this one.
Wow,
okay.
Wow.
This one came from, I think this one came from China.
Okay.
Late February 2020. Okay. So the top 5 pre-existing conditions are cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease. By chronic respiratory disease, this is asthma, COPD, so those diseases. Hypertension, cancer. Okay. So if you have those
lifestyle diseases.
Yeah, these are all lifestyle diseases.
All right.
Yes, absolutely. So there are actually good news and bad news for that. No, the good news is these are lifestyle diseases, which means that whether or not we get well from these conditions, or whether or not we are able to prevent these conditions from inflicting us from getting sick with these conditions, is entirely within our control.
Okay, that's the good news.
Okay? That's the good news. Okay, so it is up to you if you want to get sick with this or not. Okay, so the bad news is there are a lot of people with these lifestyle diseases right now.
Almost at least half, I think, of those aged 45 and above have some form of cardio, diabetes.
If we go back, let's just take a look at the younger one, the 45 to 64 years old.
Yeah.
Of those who died, there are 1,343.
Wow, that's like 80%.
With underlying conditions. Yes, this is what. Yeah, it's at least 80%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay. So my take-home message actually with these numbers, number one, it's very important for us Filipinos to stay at home, especially in this time. Only go out of your house for necessities, for essential travel, for food, for groceries. If you have to pay someone or how you have to withdraw from the bank, only the essential ones. But if you're going out to play bingo, watch a boxing match, watch sabong, that's being
not a good
irresponsible, and that is being stupid. Filipinos have to realize that our actions right now, no matter how small, it ripples. It really has an impact.
All right.
Okay?
Correct.
Yeah. And then another one, which I will be teaching later, is we have to improve our lifestyle, or we have to live healthily from here on out. Okay, so later I will discuss those.
Okay, so I mean, just looking at the numbers, it seems like even if you were in the at-risk group, but if you had no underlying conditions, you really just you can actually be very confident that you will not, yeah, that it will not be any more serious than regular flu.
Yeah,
Right? But if you have underlying complications like diabetes, then COVID-19 is no longer a regular flu. It's
yeah,
something that could kill you. Oh, yeah,
yeah.
that's a good take.
Not unless we develop vaccines or we, as a society, develop herd immunity, which herd immunity through natural selection would really be sad and
Yeah,
would
and
really
it
be
will
unfortunate because a lot of people will
take
die.
time. A lot of people will have to die. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
it's we have to wait for the vaccines. Let's just pray that that the pharmaceutical companies are able to release safe vaccines as soon as soon as possible. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we going to handle next? Are we going to take a look at the policies that?
Yeah. Let's next. Let's take a look at the algorithm released by the Philippine Society of Microbiology and Infectious Diseases. So,
All right.
this algorithm that I will be discussing would be if you have symptoms of COVID-19, what will you do? How will you be classified? Where should you go? Okay, so this is at the community level. Okay, I won't be discussing the hospital protocols because
Okay. So
because
this is
of time and
what to do, right? What to do
yes,
during this lockdown period.
yes, yes. Okay, so I'll just share my screen again.
All right, that's great. So while Doc is getting his screen up, you know, yeah, I think I live in a condo unit and many residents are also wondering what happens if someone becomes a PUM, a PUI, what happens when you are COVID positive, will someone come and drag you to the hospital or not? So I think this is really good to know what the official algorithm or protocol actually is. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
go Dr. Jansen.
So, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we see your screen.
Okay. So this one is the guidelines for primary care, released by the Philippine Society for Microbiology and Infectious Diseases. So this is also endorsed by the DOH, by these institutions. Okay. So let's take a look at this algorithm. So now, on the first box. So what if you are a patient with an acute respiratory illness with or without fever in the past 14 days? Okay, I'll explain what the past 14 days means later on. So let's just focus on the acute respiratory illness. So what is an acute respiratory illness? So if you have flu-like symptoms such as cough, colds, sore throat, body malaise, fatigue, fever, fever should be documented at least 37.8 and above. Okay, 37.8 and above. So if you have those illnesses, next that you have to take a look at is whether or not you have these conditions. If you are more than 60 years old, if you have comorbidities, or if you have severe symptoms. So if you are more than 60 years old, then you are already a suspect case with moderate to severe symptoms, and you should go to a hospital.
Okay. You should
go to a hospital. The refer to higher facility means it means that you should go to a hospital. So next, comorbids. So what are the comorbids? So let us take a look at this section here. So comorbids are adults with an underlying health condition listed below. Okay, so if you have lung disease, heart disease, kidney disease, liver disease, neurological conditions, diabetes, problems with the spleen, a weakened immune system such as you have an AIDS or HIV infection, or you are on steroids or on chemotherapy, or if you are morbidly obese with a BMI of more than 40, then you have to go to the hospital.
All right.
Okay? So next, what are severe symptoms? Severe symptoms for adults, you only have to focus on these two. Okay, so an altered mental state and shortness of breath. So what is an altered mental state? Yeah. Normally, when we are normally an adult, right? We are alert and awake. So that is the normal mental state. Now, how do you know that you have an altered mental state? That's when you are lethargic. or stuporous, or you are unconscious.
Ah, okay. So we're not
Okay?
talking about being short-tempered or anything,
No, no, no.
or crazy. So we're
No,
really
no.
talking about you just feel malaise, like lethargic, no energy, kind of.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
okay, that's what we're
So
talking about. I
that
was
is what.
wondering what that meant, you know. Your dad is more cranky than usual. Does that mean?
Yeah, yeah. An
Okay,
altered mental state. Yeah,
okay,
so uh, that is what an altered mental state means,
all right,
okay?
all right.
So another one is shortness of breath. So how do you know that you have a shortness of breath? Okay, let us Google what shortness of breath means, okay? So here is the definition of Mayo Clinic. So shortness of breath is known medically as dyspnea. Okay, so it is described as an increasing tightening of the chest or hunger or air hunger or gasping for air
Mm,
and breathlessness or a feeling of suffocation. So
okay,
after a very strenuous exercise, then your breathing becomes really intense, right? That
yeah.
is what shortness of breath
It's
means.
like after you do a sprint, right?
Yes,
And you
after
go.
you do a sprint, yes,
Yes, okay. So
that is
that's
what shortness of breath means.
all
Okay,
right.
so these to be clear. So for the other
That seems a lot more
factors,
medical.
parameters, yeah, this is a lot more medical. I won't be discussing this because
All right.
these are usually
You need diagnosis.
criteria used by the hospitals.
All right.
Okay, so for children,
Uh-huh.
cough or difficulty in breathing plus at least one of the following: central cyanosis. So central cyanosis is bluing of the body.
Okay.
Okay. So another is severe respiratory distress. Okay. So how do you know that your kid has a is in severe respiratory distress?
Mm.
You just have to take a look at their chest. Well, once they have chest indrawing, then that is a sign.
Okay.
Okay. So those are some
So
signs. Okay.
if your child is just have some cough or slight difficulty in breathing, you don't have to panic yet. You
Yeah.
don't have
Do not
to
panic. Number
yeah,
one. Do not
you don't
panic.
have to rush them to the hospital because
um.
that's just that could be anything, right? But
Yeah, that could
if
be
you have a
anything.
cough
Yes.
and you're showing these other signs like bluing and everything, then rush
Yes.
to the hospital. Okay.
Yeah. What I would advise is go consult first with a pediatrician, with your pediatrician. Call them up. There are a lot of telemedicine consultation platforms right now
All right.
that's available. You can go for a consultation there first. But if your kid has one of these signs, then it's very prudent that you rush to the hospital immediately.
Okay. At
Okay,
least now we have
so those
clear
are the severe
guidelines.
symptoms.
All right.
Now, let's go to the exposure by travel and residence or contact. Okay,
Okay.
so if within the past 14 days,
Mm.
you went out and then within 14 days, you develop an acute respiratory illness.
When you say you went out, you mean out of the country, right?
No,
Or
it's just went out of the house.
oh,
because because we
okay.
already have local transmission. We already have local
Okay. Okay,
transmission.
because
Okay,
we are
so
1 month into the lockdown. So
yeah.
so if you're experiencing yeah, okay. I get it.
Yeah, okay. So let's take a look at this. No, what does the PSMID mean by this? So exposed by travel and by residence or contact.
Mm.
So exposure by travel is a travel from a country or area where there is sustained community level transmission.
Okay.
Philippines is one.
Oh,
So
we
that's
are
a
one.
check mark. Okay.
Okay.
So number two, if you are living in a local government unit where there is a sustained community level transmission, then
What is sustained? I mean, how many number is sustained? If you let's say in San Lorenzo there is 20 people with COVID positive, is that considered sustained?
oh yes, that's already considered sustained.
So what's
Just by
the
the number of PUIs,
okay?
if you have some PUIs in your community,
Uh-huh.
and then the numbers keep increasing, right?
Okay.
That is a sign of a sustained community level transmission.
So that means the whole of Metro Manila now is pretty much sustained in the
Yeah,
sustained
pretty
status.
much. Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. There are a lot of communities here in Metro Manila. One community is Barangay 20, which I think Mayor Isko Moreno announced in TV. I think he mentioned it in passing, but they have around 20 or something PUIs at Barangay 20 in Manila.
Okay.
And that is considered sustained.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Next is if you are caring for somebody who is positive with COVID. So let me just share my screen again.
Okay.
Okay, so exposure by contact. So if you are providing direct care to suspect, probable, or confirmed COVID-19 patients without using proper PPE, then that is an exposure. Or if you had a face-to-face contact with a probable or confirmed case within 1 meter and for more than 15 minutes, that is an exposure or direct physical contact with a probable case. So those are exposure by contact. Now, what if you do not know if you had been exposed? You have to consider that you have been exposed. If you do not
always
know,
assume that you've been exposed, especially if you live in Metro Manila. Right.
Yes, because Metro Manila already has sustained local transmission.
All right.
Okay, so if you do not, okay, so let's go back here. If let's go back here, no. So let's say, for example, you are a patient with cough, and you are more than 60 years old. You have to go to the hospital. If you are a patient with cough who went out within the past 14 days, no, and you don't know whether you or not you were exposed to a suspect or a PUI or whatever, then you are a mild case. You are already a suspect case and a mild case of COVID-19. So next thing that you should be looking at is for testing.
Do a COVID test.
You have to go for a COVID test. So if in your area there is an RT-PCR test available or a swab test available, then you should go to that facility and get tested. So you have to take a look at the community quarantine protocol later, no? So I'll also be discussing that. So what if you do not have a COVID test available in your area? Let's say, for example, you are living in the hinterlands or a far-flung community. Then you have to consider that you are a probable case. And again, take a look at the community quarantine protocol. So next, let's take a look at this.
So this is what happens once you identify or suspect.
Yes. Okay, so for patients with mild symptoms and no risk factors, no? So if you are already a confirmed case, then you have to be quarantined in your community quarantine facility.
Okay. Which I think in Philippines, most places don't have. And now we've been reduced, or the standard protocol is to become quarantined in your own house.
Yeah. It depends. So here in Metro Manila, there are several community quarantine facilities. I think they converted Rizal Memorial Stadium into a quarantine facility. World Trade Center was also converted. Then there are a lot. You just have to ask your barangay. So where you should
I have a very real question, and I think that's on the mind of many of our viewers. And please ask this if you are, if a person has a slight cough, I think most of us would rather confine ourselves to our house than to go to end up being in one of these quarantine areas. I mean, is that something? What's your response to that?
Come again.
Let's say some of us have a slight cough or maybe slight fever, and we fall under we suspect that we are mild case of COVID. I think many of us would then rather quarantine ourselves in our house than to go to a specified quarantine area. I think we have fears like that if we go to a hospital. In fact, if I'm not COVID positive, if I go to the hospital, I might become COVID positive because I'm already sick with the normal flu. I mean, that is really something that non-doctors like our listeners, we will have this thought process. So as a doctor, what would you say to us?
You have to follow protocols. You have to trust the system.
So you heard it from the doctor, huh?
You have to, yes. Another very important thing is please do not lie about your travel history, about your exposure history. about your symptoms, please do not lie, because you're putting a lot of people in danger if you do. And we have to trust the system. These are in place for in order for the Philippines to fight COVID-19. No? So we would be able to control the spread.
I just want to add something here because one of my personal friends, who's a pastor in the province, so he is actually COVID positive. He was tested to be COVID positive, and they actually brought him to a containment area. So he actually sent me videos and pictures of that place. It actually is nice. It actually is nice. So I just want to share with the public out there. Don't worry. It's not like they're gonna put you in some slum area and then you're gonna get totally infected. You are at the end of the day still a patient. So now my friend is actually out of his. He's totally recovered. He's out. So
good.
Yeah. So just. I mean, I had to say that because I think many people would say, no. I don't want to go to the hospital. I might end up, I don't know where they'll drag me. They might put me in some makeshift basketball court and I'll get even worse, right? At least at home, I have my children to take care of me and things like that. So I think this is something that people really do think about. So, okay.
I have seen the video of World Trade Center when they're converting it to a quarantine facility. It looks posh inside.
It looks nice. Okay.
Yeah, it really looks nice. It was developed by, I think, Ayala Group. Yeah.
Okay, so now you have it. It might be nicer than your own home. So don't be afraid.
Right. It's air conditioned, right? It's 24/7. You're in an air conditioned
facility. I don't do air conditioned 24/7. So,
okay, so let's continue. So what if your community doesn't have quarantine facility? So you have to do this birth monitoring. So what is this birth monitoring? This one is let me just minimize this. This one is the Barangay Health Emergency Response Team. So here are some of the bullet points, no? So number one is to accomplish a case identification form. So this one is for the barangay, your local barangay, to identify that, okay, we have a person under investigation here. We have a suspect case here and needs our help. Okay, so this one will ensure monitoring throughout the duration of your isolation and quarantine. So if you're under monitoring, if you're under self-isolation and home quarantine, what should you do? If you're advised to do self-isolation, this is strict isolation of the patient in a separate room or area in the household.
Okay.
Now, if you are under self-isolation, the rest of the household members, including pets, must strictly stay at home. None of you can go out of your home, which is why it is important for you to notify your barangay officers so they can deliver food to your home, or else you will die of hunger. Okay? So these are the things that you would be expecting, or the things that you would do when you get infected with COVID-19. Okay, so I hope this clears up everything.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share because me and a lot of my friends all live in condominiums, and almost all the condominiums have had cases of PUI and PUM. And I just wanted to report to all the listeners over there that everything is professionally done. It's really good. The PUMs get called up by the city health official workers every single day. They check with them whether they have fever, how are they feeling, and the positive COVID positive patients actually have people from city health come to collect their trash, and also they get phone calls and teleconsults from doctors almost on a daily basis to make sure that they are not serious. If they're serious, then they have to be moved to the hospital. So I just want to let everybody know. Yeah. So here in the Makati area, I have friends in different condos. So all of us are experiencing more or less almost every condo has undergone PUM at some point or another. So the reports are all the same. Everything is done properly. There's no hardship for those who get quarantined, and they're pretty much taken care of. So yeah, as Doc says, don't lie and don't pretend. Okay, things you will be handled correctly. Okay, and you'll be treated well. All right.
Yeah.
So we're done with the Technical aspects.
Yeah. Okay. Next. What do we need to do during and after the lockdown? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is where improving our lifestyle would come in. So
Mm.
of course, aside from the usual of hand washing, wearing face masks, social distancing or physical distancing,
Mm.
um, we have to improve our lifestyle as well. We have to make healthier choices from here on out. Okay, so because our immune system means a lot to us, especially nowadays. Okay, so
Doc,
how do you
just want,
then? Yeah.
I wanted, I guess, a statement from a doctor that's like yourself, so that
Mm-hmm.
it's clear to the rest of us. I was watching Singapore news, and
Mm-hmm.
there was actually they interviewed Singaporeans on the street, right? Channel News Asia, and
Yeah.
some students in
Mm-hmm.
I guess about 16-year-old, they actually thought antibiotics would
Oh,
help with COVID, right? So,
okay.
yeah. So, and this is Singapore. So, I guess I just want to ask right now for so that you can state clearly,
Mm-hmm.
in the fight for COVID, especially if you are a mild case. I guess when you
Mm-hmm.
have respiratory failure, then you really need the ventilators, and that's actually
Yeah.
medical intervention.
Yeah.
But for the COVID itself, is there any medication that can be used to address? What happens when a COVID patient actually goes into hospital care? What kind of care does the hospital prescribe to a COVID patient without, let's say, respiratory failure?
Mm-hmm.
And in relation to that, what is the surefire way, or the best way that we can actually fight against COVID, protect ourselves, or when we
Mm-hmm.
do have it, how do we make sure that we get well? Yeah.
Okay, so for the first question, there
Mhm.
are no confirmed medications as of now that can fight COVID-19.
So no
No
medication.
medications. There
So
are
if you
no
go to
medication that is
the
confirmed.
hospital doesn't give you medicine for COVID.
Uh, the hospital will only give you supportive treatment for
What is
all the other
supportive treatment?
symptoms.
Yeah, what is
Supportive
support?
treatment is it's like it's symptomatic treatment, no?
Oh,
So if you manifest fever, then they give you paracetamol. If you have difficulty of breathing, let's say for example, you are coughing and your phlegm is really copious, then they give you some mucolytic and an expectorant. So
okay.
those are so that is what symptomatic treatment is.
To make
So
you feel more comfortable. Is
yes,
that
it's
basically what it does?
yeah. It's for you to make you feel more comfortable, but they are really not uh killing off the virus directly. We
Okay.
do not have drugs that can do that as of now, or confirmed drugs that can do that right now.
So
There are
what can we do? What actually kills the COVID virus then?
okay.
If
What actually kills the COVID virus is our immune system.
okay, so the immune system. I mean, many worldwide doctors have been saying it again and again, but I just wanted to hear it from Dr. Jansen himself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that you
So
guys here, right? If you have questions, please type. But it seems pretty clear. The only defense that we have is our immune system.
yeah, and another one is vaccines.
Our vaccine.
Those are the two. Well, technically, a vaccine would would be giving you antibodies, so it's really up to your immune system as well.
Okay.
At the end of the day,
Doc,
yeah.
again, I was watching Channel News Asia. It's much
Mm-hmm.
better than CNN and all the
Mm-hmm.
hyperbole in all the other news
Yeah,
networks.
yeah.
And they were talking about vaccines. So it was very interesting that I found out that actually what vaccines actually do is actually challenge your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's your immune system. What was also interesting that they were telling is that every year the flu vaccine that we
Yeah.
inject with is actually tailored. They actually have teams of virologists that because the flu virus itself mutates,
Yes.
and if the flu virus has more than what they call a DNA shift, if they have
Mm-hmm.
a DNA shift, then the vaccine doesn't work. If they have a DNA drift, wow, I'm being technical. Okay, if there's a DNA drift, then
Yeah.
yes, it still is effective, but not 100%. So, Doc, that means again that even if we have one vaccine, that vaccine could turn out to not be effective for all the strains of coronavirus. Am I correct to say that?
Yes. If coronavirus or SARS-CoV-2 mutates, then the previously manufactured vaccine for the previous strain wouldn't be as effective for the new strain of the virus. Then we would have to get a series of vaccinations probably every year.
Wow, then again, it goes to your own immune system. But Doc, is this COVID virus something our own immune system can really fight off? I mean, that's another question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Why? How come our own immune system can do something that the pharmaceutical companies have to spend 18 months to figure out?
Well, that is how God made us, I guess.
Okay. So you're really saying that our own immune system could, if it's operating optimally, it's a better chance than even a vaccine. Can we actually say that? I mean, is that correct? And then
vaccinated.
Why would you have vaccine in that? Because all of us are ill-disciplined and we can't actually live a healthy life. Is that the reason why we need vaccines?
Well, the number one reason. Well, okay, if you develop immunity on your own, by your own, against SARS-CoV-2, and then you get vaccinated artificially, it's actually as good as you getting vaccinated. The both is on par with each other. Okay. So me developing natural immunity against COVID-19 or against SARS-CoV-2 is on par with me getting vaccinated. Okay.
What can we do to make sure our immune system is working? And, and how do you know whether you have a healthy immune system?
Okay, so first of all, let's discuss first. How do you develop a healthier immune system? Okay. So number one is nutrition.
Okay.
So there are a few...
nutrition, Doc.
Yes.
I think every one of us wants a quick fix. We live in the day and age now, so I think the first thing we all run to is vitamin C. First, I just want to know, is vitamin C effective? Will it really help our immune system?
Vitamin C can help the immune system, but vitamin C is just one molecule out of the myriads of the hundreds of thousands of chemicals that can help your immune system or the immune system uses. So we cannot box out vitamin C just because it is marketed as something that can help your immune system. We still have to get our nutrition or our body's needs for it to function well from the food that we eat.
All right. Okay. So is that what you're going to share with us now?
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into nutrition.
All right.
So let's first, I'll first discuss, share with you some studies. No. So how did they find out what was effective and what was not? So there was one study. So they studied the effects of a traditional Mediterranean diet consisting of fresh plant foods. So this was they did this for an interventional trial for 128 children aged 1 to 5 years with recurring colds and frequent complications over 1 year. So at the end of the trial, there was a significant decrease in the number of symptoms, antibiotic use, and symptomatic treatment. So this tells us that eating healthily can have a significant impact in our immune system and how our immune system fights respiratory illnesses. Okay? So then, how do we know that enough is enough?
Yeah.
Or
how do we know how much vitamin C is enough, or how much broccoli is enough?
How much food is enough, right? So eating at least 5 servings or 1 or half cup per serving per day of these food groups, so fruits, whole grains, legumes, and vegetables, can increase your antibody response and lower inflammation. So these two factors are very important in COVID-19, since patients who develop severe symptoms almost always develop severe inflammatory reactions in the form of a cytokine storm. No? So some specific foods that can help would be mushrooms. So there was one study that have shown that consumption of mushrooms for a week can increase antibody secretion, specifically IgA, particularly in the lining of the eyes, nose, mouth, and throat by 50%. Which further stayed elevated for a week after discontinuation.
Wow! This is really good, Doc. I just want to capture this because every time when we hear about nutrition, it's just like going to the gym. In my mind, it's you have to exercise for 3 months to just lose some weight, and to get
Yeah.
6 packs, you have to go to the gym for a year. That's the concept. So what you're just saying is, for this particular case, eating mushrooms for 1 week saw a 50%, 50% increase in your antibodies. And that's a measure of the strength of the immune system. And after you stop eating the mushrooms, it still stayed elevated for 1 week.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So guys, I think that answers all our questions. That eating foods can have impact, not like drugs. It's not 5 minutes, right? It's not. I mean, drugs work in the moment you get injected in the buttocks. Your fever goes down, right? So it's not so fast, but it's not so long that you need 6 months to see improvement. In a matter of a week,
correct.
you will see significant, 50% is very significant. I think very few drugs can even do that, even those immune system booster drugs.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, so I think that's a great point, Doc. All right, but Doc,
so
it's not possible right now under lockdown. The only thing that delivers to our house is KFC, Mang in the South. The only mushrooms I'm gonna get is on the pizza or mushroom pasta, and I'm sure the mushroom there is neither sufficient nor so fresh that it contains all these healthy benefits. So how can you live a healthy lifestyle? It's too late to go to the Palenque to buy vegetables now, and you go to Rustan's and lots of meat, very little vegetables. So how?
There are a lot of delivery services that does home delivery services for your groceries.
There
They
you go.
even deliver produce.
I think that the answer to all the listeners out there is,
Don't
give yourself the excuse, all right? You just have to.
Okay, I recommend one app, Session Grocery. Session Grocery, if I remember the app correctly. Session Grocery actually delivers vegetables from Cordillera Province or Benguet, and they deliver it directly to your house.
Wow. Okay.
So you also help the farmers, and you stayed at home and help the frontliners.
Okay, so Doc, just to do a quick summary for all our listeners out there. So we have to eat vegetables, not KFC, Greenwich that delivers to your home, right? Okay. So we need to get we need to eat beans, right? Legumes.
Legumes.
Mongo, soya bean. Okay. Peas. Is that
chickpeas, garbanzos, kidney beans.
Wait, can I check? What about canned chickpeas?
Canned chickpeas, it's okay. As long as you rinse off the fluid, the liquid inside the can.
So we have to eat. What other stuff do we have to eat? Vegetables of every color, like tomatoes, eggplant.
Whatever vegetable is available, then eat it.
Okay. All right. So there you have it. So if you want lasagna, vegetable lasagna.
Yeah, vegetable lasagna is good as long as you don't put cheese on it.
What's the point of lasagna without cheese? Doc is a lifestyle specialist. I know whatever he says seems painful to your ears, but it's good for your health. All right, it's good for your health.
Okay, I'll share you another food group which is really very nutritious. Okay, so this food group is called microalgae. So microalgae foods such as chlorella can also activate dendritic cells, or these are the antigen presenting cells. So this is the first line of your immune system soldiers. Okay, so microalgae foods also, they activate dendritic cells via a cascade of cellular response that subsequently activates natural killer cells in production of Th1 cells. So these Th1 cells are very important in fighting against viruses. Okay, so this is another food group that people may consider.
I want to also add to what Dr. Jansen has said. There are many lifestyle studies, and I think one of the most interesting one is the Japanese diet, because in Japan, there were two places that were bombed, Okinawa and Nagasaki. The atomic bomb was literally dropped on them, right? But however, Japan has one of the lowest cancer rates in the world. despite them having the highest radiation rate
Yes.
in the world. So when they did the research, especially the Okinawans, who always live to about 100 years old, most of them, but Okinawans who leave Okinawa don't live to 100 years old because they adopt the city lifestyle. But one thing that's very interesting is that the Japanese diet contains a lot of PPAR-rich foods like dark soya beans and so on and so forth. There are trace amounts, but because they eat that their entire life, the Japanese are usually healthy. So the Japanese die because of work stress and not really healthy. Not because of bad diet. Their diet is generally quite good. Right? So it reinforces the Japanese eat a lot of algae, from seaweed wraps. They eat lots of a lot of their food, seaweed soup, all these. So it's all of it is all algae, and they eat it every single day. So and that's a greatest proof because their statistics show that they are healthier than the rest. We eat a lot of spaghetti here and red hot in Philippines, right? So our statistics also show what happens when you eat a lot of sweet spaghetti and red hot dogs.
Then you get a lot of the lifestyle diseases that I have mentioned earlier.
That is true.
Yeah. So what other things that you have to do? Exercise. Exercise can actually boost your immune system. So I looked into a lot of studies about exercise. So exercise can decrease the rate of respiratory infection, thereby reducing the number of sick days by 25 to 50%.
Wow.
Okay. So that powerful. So if you let kids run for 6 minutes, and you can increase the number of immune cells by more than 30%. Even
6 minutes. Just 6 minutes.
Just 6 minutes. Yes. For 70-year-old sedentary women who begin walking half an hour a day, they can cut the risk of getting a respiratory infection from 50% down to 20%.
Wow. That's
that's really huge. However, we have to be careful as well about physical activity, because if you increase the intensity and duration of exercise, there will be an increase in the risk of respiratory infection. Okay, so a moderate intensity physical activity for half an hour every day would be sufficient to boost immune function. So how do you know that you are doing a moderate intensity physical activity? If you can talk but cannot sing, then that is moderate intensity.
Okay, if you can talk, that means, okay, I understand. So how do you know your exercise is really giving you exercise? You can't sing, right? So that means you're pushing yourself hard enough that it's considered exercise. Okay. Yeah, my mom thinks that exercise is walking around with her iPad while she watches Netflix. All right. So mom,
why
if
not?
you're watching this, mom, that's not exercise. All right. Okay, Doc. So I just wanted to summarize, because this webinar, I think we've reached our time. Well, wow. Thank you, Doc. You've actually gone through with us on the technical aspects. I mean, we have all been in lockdown for the past 30 days, but I sit on my condominium board and I read Facebook questions to of the residents in my condominium, and I realize that we are still not totally clear on this COVID, and we don't understand the implications. But today, Dr. Jansen has clearly explained what COVID is. Also explained the statistics of what's happening around the world. He has given us a clear indication that what it looks like for a country to be successful in its fight against COVID. So we looked at Taiwan, we looked at South Korea. All right, both countries do extensive testing, so their data is actually trustworthy, and you can see that their curve comes to the plateau. It also tells us that be prepared, that when May 1st comes, according to Dr. Jansen, it's unlikely that we will go back to normal life, because based on the statistics, it looks like Philippines is still not out of the woods yet. So I just want to give you a heads up, be mentally prepared that some form of restriction, or maybe even more restrictions, will be coming our way. And even if we go back to some form of normal economic activity, we got to be very careful. We could be put back into quarantine anytime based on the charts, right? We are like the US going up. And I like that. We want to thank Dr. Jansen. He confirmed that what happens in the hospital. If you're a COVID patient, you will get supportive treatment. Yes. And I've always wondered what support treatment is. So Dr. Jansen explained to us clearly. Basically, you are alleviator of any symptoms so that your body, you're more comfortable, you're in a better state to fight the virus. But nothing in the hospital is going to be prescribed to you that directly attacks or diminishes the virus. Only the complications that it causes. So again, it goes back to our immune system, right, Doc? And the immune system, Doc was saying about vaccines. So again, vaccines are tailored to the virus. If the virus mutates, your vaccine is no longer valid. So although we are putting a lot of our hopes in a vaccine coming out, be aware that the best vaccine is your own immune system. So don't just put all your hopes on the vaccine, only to find out when the vaccine comes, that the virus has mutated and it's not so effective, right? And then you worry again. So as Dr. Jansen said, from this time on,
yes,
choose wisely. I know it's easy to dial up KFC, Greenwich, Mang Inner South, but instead dial up the vegetable providers, all right? And eat mango, beans, chickpeas, green vegetables. I remember a simple rule is every color, every type of color, right? From your brinjal, or your eggplant, your tomatoes.
Eat a rainbow.
Yeah, and then Dr. Jansen actually spoke on a particular topic, which I will expound on another time. He talks about microalgae, but today we wanted to give an update on COVID. Before we end, and thank you very much for Dr. Jansen for your time. I wanted to update that during this time, we've actually had doctors who are using SimplyNature extracts on COVID patients. Okay, so this particular one I think is worthy to share, to give you hope. One of our doctors actually had a COVID patient who both of them are above 80 years old. So the husband got COVID, got positive, and died in less than 4 days. All right, so we were not able to rush our products to him in time, but the wife, who stays in the same home, is on a very high dose vitamin C and supplement. Supplement is a whole cocktail of supplements. So they're taking lots of supplements, focusing high on vitamin C and also our liquid extracts, because her husband literally just died in front of her. Good news, it's now been 3 weeks. She went for a test. She's COVID negative. So what Doc shared is really about boosting your immune system. So I'll do another talk about SimplyNature PPARs on how it does that and go into greater detail. But Dr. Jansen has already shared, and we have other doctors and Dr. Jansen himself also, I'm sure, who has been boosting his patient's immune system, because we know that that's the best line of defense. Okay, so if any questions, please ask. If you would like to do a teleconsult with Dr. Jansen, he is available, right? Doc, are you available?
Yeah, just send me a message.
Just send a message.
But if once the telemedicine platforms are launched, then you have to set an appointment with them.
All right. So what we'll do is that we'll include it in the link below this video on how you can get in touch with Dr. Jansen. Yeah. Now, I really want you to encourage you, go and bother him. Right? Ask him for recipes. If you have any questions, every time Dr. Jansen does a talk, people keep asking their hands, Doc, what about this vegetable? What about this? Is this good? Is that good? I think, Doc, you have to do a video so that you don't have to repeat yourself all the time. All right? Yes, and of course, if you want to teleconsult, Dr. Jansen's available. Dr. Jansen also prescribes SimplyNature products to support his patients, and you can get them through him as well. So if you need any assistance or any loved ones, especially those who are at risk. So I want to also highlight what Dr. Jansen has said. You really need to get your diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, cardiovascular problems in check. Staying at home worrying about COVID is not going to help you. Getting your blood sugar normal while you're on lockdown is going to protect you. It's going to make you not susceptible. You don't have to be afraid of COVID if you are non-diabetic and you're healthy, right? So again, Doc, any last words for our listeners?
Stay at home.
And don't order, fast food only. All right.
Eat your vegetables.
Eat your vegetables. All right. So please, any questions, any queries, you want to know more about what healthy vegetables to eat, whatever the questions, just type them out. Dr. Jansen and I will still continue to respond to your comments even after this webinar is over. All right. So, and tune in. Within the week, we're going to have another short session this time around. I'm just going to be the one doing it. I'm going to share with you the data from all our other doctors who've been using our products for COVID positive patients, and they've been successful. So I'm going to share with you how and why, the science behind it, how our product works, and I hope that helps you. And of course, we'll give you special promos on if you want to protect yourself during this COVID season. The good news is that Simply Nature is actually active. We have a skeleton crew, so please be patient. Our skeletal sales force, office force keeps the products delivery. So for Metro Manila, no problem. Lalamu, Grab will deliver to your home. For those staying outside, it depends on what LBC is available, and our doctors in the province have inventory, some of them, so you can get it from them too. All right, so thank you very much. Stay at home. It's 2 more weeks. All right, and thank you very much, Dr. Jansen. You look good. All right, it looks like today is doing you good. And I'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.